a lot of people who are they've set up their business and they're looking at this as a mechanism for sort of growing. They're starting to grow, but they might not necessarily have a big following or a big list. So what are the different ways that you would recommend people reaching out in natural ways, and without necessarily spending a truckload of money, or without necessarily spending any money, to actually just get over the fact that they don't already have a devoted following?
I love this because it's such a unique question that I get all the time. So I guess that makes it not unique, but it's a really common question with what I think is a unique answer, which is like everybody starts at zero, right? So a lot of times we have this belief is like, well, that works for Trudy because she has a podcast, or that works for Zach because he has a blog and a following or an email list, and I don't have that. And it's like the cool thing about most people in business, yes, I know there's exceptions, you can buy a business, but most people in business didn't wake up one day and go, yep, this is the day I've got that 1 million followers from doing absolutely nothing with the rest of my life. So now I can launch that business. No, you build the business by launching the business. And especially in our industry, people build their businesses by launching. So to me, if you make this a really irresistible offer and then you do throw a little bit of advertising at it, you can then be smart about leveraging everyone who comes in. So that's the first thing I'll say. The second thing is like really tangible is buy a URL for your challenge. Like, let's say I was going to do like thechallengechallenge.com. I would buy that domain, and then I would ask everybody who shares the challenge or joins the challenge to share the domain. Now, you might be like, well, couldn't they just share a link? Like, totally, but they can tell their friend, they can text their friend, they can forward an email, or just say, go to thechallengechallenge.com, right? Like, I would buy a domain and I would ask people to share it, right? You don't get what you don't ask for. So ask people to share your content. That's the first thing. The second thing is never underestimate the power of your organic audience, right? A lot of people are like, I don't have a big following. And it's like, but you probably have 100 on Instagram. You probably have 100 on Facebook. Are they all your ideal clients? Maybe, maybe not. It depends what you've been doing up to this point. But everybody starts at zero. And there's probably 1 or 2 people that are interested. Third thing I'll say is start networking and expanding your audience when you're not launching. So that is posting on Instagram. That is networking in Facebook groups. That is doing a weekly blog and creating really good content that people want to share. One of the biggest beliefs that I'm trying to shift in this industry is like, if you want to launch, you just decide on a Friday and then you run a bunch of ads and then you do it on Thursday and then it happens. That is kind of the belief that a lot of people have. You might see a big person do a launch, like you see an Amy Porterfield, you see a James Schramko, you see them do this big launch, and you know that they're taking a few months to do it. But like in our minds, we condense that process down to like, well, he did a webinar and then he emailed me, and then like that's everything. But what we don't think about is, well, what is someone like James Schramko doing in the interim? He's emailing his list every day. He's networking. He is doing a podcast every week. He is running Facebook ads. He is using organic marketing. He is leveraging the audience of other people who come on his show. He is constantly building the machine and the audience. And so the other thing, I know this is like might seem kind of like a tangent because you're like, this is all good and well, but what does that mean for me? What it means for you is that your first launch doesn't retire your family. Okay. So I think that's the other thing we really have to get through. Like my first launch with this business netted $450. One person asked for a refund. One person was like, just keep the money, even though it's terrible. And one person was like, can I use what I paid to just hire you one-on-one? Like, this is not good. I know you're good at what you do. I'd rather just use this to hire you for a set amount of time. But we see marketer math, right? Nobody in marketer world wants to talk about how the time that their launch doesn't go well because it's not sexy. It's not flashy and sell, right? It's just like you go to a used car lot or you to a car dealership. They don't take the 1988 Ford or Contour and put it in the middle of the showroom. No, they put the nice, newest, cleanest car in the middle of the showroom. But most people don't wake up one day and buy the brightest, fanciest, newest, shiniest car. Most of us, I know there's exceptions, but most of us, you buy a beater. You buy a beater car and you evolve over time, right? My first car was a $500. It was a Ford Contour. And it was so old that when I went to college, couldn't take it with me the first year, the wheels fell off in the driveway. Okay. That was my first car, right? But my most recent car is brand new. I bought it off the lot. I bought it new. I paid for it. It's paid off. But you have to get there. And so for people who are like, I don't have an audience or I don't have this, what I always say is maybe this is like your beater car launch. Maybe this is the time where you get 1 or 2 customers and you give them an all-star experience. And then the next time you get 3 to 5 and then 10 and then 50 and then 100. And the growth can be exponential in quantum, but it has to be a timeline for that to happen. So I know that the kind of, the desire is like, just tell me how to grow the audience. And it's like, just do all the things you know you should be doing and stop expecting the results that someone who's been doing this for 10 years has gotten in your first 10 weeks. And that's going to just, I always am like really hesitant to tell people to like tamper their expectations or lower your goals. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is get realistic with your numbers. Like have a check-in with the math, right? If you've got $100 to spend and 100 people follow you on Instagram, you're probably not going to make $1 million this first time around. And that's okay. Right? Set the goal and miss it, but just know that you're playing the long game. And to me, that's far more important than any singular strategy like, oh, use Pinterest at 5 a.m. and repin with this special app and then you'll go viral, right? Like, yeah, sure, that stuff works and it's important and it's long-term. But to me, what's more important is, are you playing the long game or are you playing like the money game? Because the people who play the long game run a business and the people who play the money game often burn out and fizzle out.